Hey friend, it's me, $1,000 Bill Linda from Bill Linda Money Talks, and today we need to have one of those grown woman conversations. Not a scary conversation, not a shame conversation, but a real one. Because a lot of folks are counting down the days until they can retire, walk away from the job, close that laptop, stop punching that clock, and finally breathe. And listen, I understand. Some of you have been working for 30, 35, 40 years. You are tired. Your knees are tired. Your patience is tired. Your email inbox is tired. And some days you are not even saying, I want to retire. You are saying, I just want this pressure to stop. But friend, before you turn in that badge, before you send that retirement email, before you say, I am done, I need you to hear me. Your paycheck may be leaving, but your bills are staying. Let that sit for a second. Because when you retire, the job may stop calling, but the mortgage does not stop calling, the rent does not stop calling, the light bill does not stop calling. The car insurance, phone bill, groceries, medical costs, credit cards, prescriptions, property taxes, and family emergencies, they still know your address. And that is why we have to plan with clear eyes. Now, let me say this up front. I am not a tax professional. I am not your financial advisor. And I am not here to tell you what to do with your Social Security, your pension, your 401k, your IRA, or your taxes. You need to verify your own situation with the right professionals, check official sources, and get advice that fits your life. But what I do have is applied knowledge. I know how money behaves. I know how bills stack up. I know how one little payment can turn into pressure. And I know that in these difficult times, with everything costing more, we all could use a little help figuring things out. So today, I want to help you think before you leap. Let's talk about Marilyn. Marilyn is 60 years old. She has been working for the same company for 22 years. Every morning she gets up, makes her coffee, opens that laptop, and tells herself, just a little while longer. She is tired of meetings, tired of being polite when people send foolish emails, tired of training people who make more than she does, tired of feeling like she has to prove herself at an age where she has already proved enough. So Marilyn starts saying, when I turn 62, I am out. And I understand that feeling. But here's the part Marilyn had not really looked at yet. Her paycheck was bringing in about $4,200 a month after taxes, but her estimated Social Security at 62 might be closer to $2,000 a month. Now, I am just using simple example numbers here. Everybody's situation is different, but Marilyn's bills, her rent is 1,450, car note 4020, car insurance 165, phone, internet, utilities, groceries, prescriptions, credit card minimums, gas, church giving, grandbaby birthdays, hair appointments, and a little money to live. When she finally wrote it down, she realized something. She was not just retiring from a job. She was retiring from a paycheck that was carrying the whole house. And that is a different conversation. Friend, the bills do not care that you are tired. That sounds harsh, but it is true. The electric company is not going to say, oh, baby, you worked hard for 40 years. Don't worry about us this month. The grocery store is not going to say, you raised children, took care of your mama, survived a divorce, helped your family, and kept showing up. These eggs are free. No, friend, these bills are going to keep doing what bills do. They show up on time. That is why we have to show up with a plan. And I want to say this gently. Do not make a permanent retirement decision from a temporary burnout place. Sometimes we do not need to retire immediately. Sometimes we need rest. Sometimes we need boundaries. Sometimes we need a different department, a different schedule, a remote role, part-time work, contract work, or a new plan. Sometimes we need to take a week off and get our mind right before we make a decision that affects the next 20 or 30 years. Because retirement is not just leaving work. Retirement is creating a life you can afford to live. But let me tell you about Linda. Linda was 63. She had been a supervisor for years and she was done. She said, I cannot take another day of this place. So she retired as soon as she could. At first, it felt wonderful. No alarm clock, no meetings, no manager asking for one more report. She cleaned out closets, visited her sister, sat on the porch in the morning, watched all the shows she had missed, and for the first couple of months, she felt free. But then reality started tapping her on the shoulder. Her health insurance changed. Her grocery bill went up. Her car needed repairs. Her property taxes increased. Her daughter needed help with school clothes for the kids, and that credit card balance she thought she would deal with later was still sitting there. Only now there was no full paycheck coming in. Linda looked around and said, I thought retirement would feel peaceful. Why do I feel more nervous now? And friend, that happens to more people than you think. Not because they are foolish, not because they are lazy, but because they retired from the stress of work without fully planning for the cost of life. Now I want to speak especially to my single women, divorced women, widowed women, and women who know there is no second paycheck coming behind them. Baby, you have to plan differently, not fearfully, not negatively, but honestly, if there is one income, then that one income has to be respected. There may not be another person's social security check. There may not be another pension. There may not be someone else covering half the rent, half the groceries, half the emergency. That means your retirement plan needs to answer some plain questions. Can I afford my housing? Can I afford my transportation? Can I afford medical costs? Can I handle a $500 emergency? Can I handle a $1,500 emergency? Do I still have debt? Am I planning to help adult children? Will I need to work part time? Can I reduce my bills before I retire? And here's a big one. Am I retiring into peace or am I retiring into pressure? So here's the solution. Before you retire, I want you to do what I call a practice retirement budget. Not in your head, not I think I can make it, not God will work it out while you refuse to look at the numbers. Now, I believe in faith, but faith and wisdom can sit at the same table. So write it down. For the next 90 days, pretend your paycheck has already changed. Look at what you expect your monthly retirement income to be. Maybe it is Social Security, maybe it is a pension, maybe it is a small withdrawal from savings. Maybe it is part-time income. Whatever it is, write down the number. Then write down every bill, not just the pretty bills. All the bills: housing, electric, gas, water, phone, internet, car payment, car insurance, groceries, medications, doctor visits, credit cards, personal care, pet care, streaming services, storage units, gifts, church giving, house repairs, car repairs, family help, and what I call the life happens category, because life always happens. Then ask yourself, can I live on this number for 90 days without panic? If the answer is yes, wonderful. You are learning. If the answer is no, do not panic. That is not failure. That is information. And information gives you options. Now, let's say you do the numbers and they do not work yet. That does not mean retirement is impossible. It means your plan needs adjusting. You may need to work 6 more months. You may need to wait 1 more year. You may need to pay off 1 credit card before you leave. You may need to sell the car with a big payment and buy something more affordable. You may need to cancel subscriptions. You may need to downsize. You may need to rent out a room. You may need to build a small emergency fund. You may need to explore part-time work, remote work, consulting, seasonal work, or something flexible that gives you breathing room. And let me say this, there is no shame in working part-time in retirement. There is no shame in adjusting the plan. There is no shame in saying, I need more time. Wisdom is not embarrassment. Wisdom is protection. Now let me tell you about Sandra. Sandra was 59 and wanted to retire at 62. At first, she was just counting down the days, but then she got serious. She wrote down her real bills. She checked her estimated Social Security. She looked at her credit card balances. She stopped pretending the storage unit was only temporary. She realized she was spending almost $300 a month on little automatic payments she barely used. Streaming here, app there. Subscription box there. Extra insurance she did not understand. A gym membership she had not used in 6 months. Sandra did not become rich overnight, but she got honest. She canceled what she did not need. She paid off one small card. She started building a $1,000 emergency cushion. She began practicing living on less before retirement. And she talked to a professional about her Social Security timing and taxes. By the time she got closer to retirement, she still had decisions to make. But she had something she did not have before: clarity. And friend, clarity is powerful because fear gets louder when you refuse to look, but once you look, you can plan. Because it is better to adjust before retirement than to panic after retirement. So here's what I want you to do this week. I want you to complete a 3-part retirement readiness check. Number 1, know your income. What money will actually come in each month after you retire? Not what you hope, not what you heard somebody else gets, your number. Check your Social Security estimate. Check your pension if you have one. Check savings. Check any part-time or side income. Number 2, know your bills. Write them all down. The fixed bills, the flexible bills, the sneaky bills, the annual bills that show up acting like they are a surprise, even though they come every year. Insurance, property taxes, car tags, holiday spending, home repairs, medical deductibles. Write them down. Number 3, know your gap. This is the big one. If your retirement income is $2,200 a month and your bills are $2,800 a month, you have a $600 gap. That gap is not going to disappear because you are tired. That gap needs a plan. You either increase income, reduce expenses, use savings carefully, work part-time, delay retirement, downsize, or combine several strategies. But you do not ignore the gap, because ignored gaps become credit card debt. Ignored gaps become panic. Ignored gaps become stress. Now, friend, I know this conversation may feel heavy, but I do not want you to feel discouraged. I want you to feel awake. There is a difference. Discouraged says, I cannot do anything. Awake says, let me look at this while I still have choices. And let me say this from the heart, God can make a way, but sometimes the way includes a spreadsheet. Sometimes the way includes a phone call. Sometimes the way includes canceling what no longer serves you. Sometimes the way includes saying no. Sometimes the way includes staying 6 months longer so you can leave with peace instead of panic. That is not lack of faith. That is stewardship. That is wisdom. That is grown woman planning. And you deserve better than that. So here's your homework. Before you say, I am retiring at 62 or I am leaving as soon as possible, and I want you to do this. Write down your expected retirement income. Write down your real monthly bills. Circle anything you can reduce. Put a star next to anything that worries you. Then ask yourself, what needs to change so I can retire with more peace? Maybe the answer is debt. Maybe the answer is housing. Maybe the answer is health insurance. Maybe the answer is part-time income. Maybe the answer is waiting a little longer. Maybe the answer is having a real conversation with your family and saying, I love you, but I cannot keep funding everybody else while I am trying to retire. That one right there might save somebody's future. So remember this, your paycheck may be leaving, but your bills are staying. And that is not meant to scare you. It is meant to prepare you. Because when you know the numbers, you can make better decisions. When you know the gap, you can build a bridge. When you know the truth, you can stop guessing and start planning. And in these difficult times, none of us need more shame. We need wisdom. We need tools. We need honesty. And yes, sometimes we need a little help figuring things out. Again, I am not a tax professional or financial advisor. Please verify your own situation, check official sources, and talk with qualified professionals before making decisions about taxes, Social Security, retirement accounts, or major financial moves. But from one wise money friend to another, let me leave you with this. Do not retire just because you are tired. Retire because you are ready. And if you're not ready yet, that does not mean you failed. It means you still have time to prepare. So if this message helped you, share it with another woman who is thinking about retirement and needs to hear the truth with love. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can be notified when new videos are published. This is $1,000 bill, Linda, and remember, the bills are staying, so make sure your plan is staying too. I'll talk to you next time.